Good afternoon. I'm Detective Brian Cabrera. I'm a deputy commander here with the Major Case Squad and have been assigned to be in charge of this case. I wanted to go ahead and give us a news briefing with regards to charges that were filed in regards to the case. This is a major case activation that occurred on the 20th of December. The major case was activated at the request of the Bethalto Police Department in the early hours of December 20th. The investigation started rapidly, and I would like to commend all of the investigators behind me with the major case. They did an excellent job in bringing a resolution to this particular incident in such a short manner of time. Besides their assistance, we utilized the assistance of Hazelwood Police Department, and the Bethalto Police Department was very active and engaged in this incident and a part of it from the very beginning. The case was started with victims being found at 308 Mill Street in Bethalto, and those victims were identified as Sherry A. Yates, 59 years of age, Andrew J. Brooks, 30 years of age, and John E. McMillan, 32 years of age. The case was actually one of those that used a large number of agencies and spanned a multi-state area, and it was one of those that took the work and cooperation of all those agencies to bring such a rapid, successful resolution to this incident. I'd like to commend each and every one of those agencies, being the Bethalto Police Department, the Hazelwood Police Department, Clarksville, Tennessee Police Department, Tennessee Bureau of Investigations, Jefferson County, Alabama Sheriff's Office, FBI, the Illinois State Police Crime Scene and Forensic Laboratory Services, and Madison County Coroner's Office, and obviously the Madison County State's Attorney's Office. Each and every one of those agencies and entities were the reason we were able to bring this quick resolution. The individuals charged today are a Brittany McMillan, and 28 years of age. She was originally from the Bethalto, Illinois area and had recently moved to the Birmingham, Alabama area. Also charged was Brady Witcher, 31 years of age, a white male from the Birmingham, Alabama area. Both are in custody at the St. Louis County Detention Center, awaiting extradition to Madison County. The incident really started approximately 8 days or so ago, on or about the 11th of December, and that was a homicide that occurred in the Jefferson County, Alabama area. That homicide was what these individuals they were engaged in that homicide and subsequently charged with regards to it. After that homicide, they fled that area. They then went to the area of Clarksville, Tennessee. While in Clarksville, Tennessee, they were engaged in a crime spree, of which involved several retail thefts, involving weapons, also brandishing weapons, also stolen vehicles, and then a subsequent home invasion and aggravated battery to the victims in that particular incident. They immediately fled there. After that incident, then they went to the Bethalto, Illinois area, where they came into the residence at 308 Mill Street. While they were at that residence, they executed, in essence, the individuals at that residence. This is a brutal and heinous crime crime spree that occurred, and these individuals are evil individuals. They're some of the most evil individuals I've seen in my entire career. After this incident, they went to a hotel in the Hazelwood area, of where they were located, received tip and information, the Hazelwood Police Department did. They were assisted by the FBI in executing or in apprehending the suspects at that location. So that's kind of what I have. How the Bethalto Police Department became involved and aware of the homicide that occurred here is we had Hazelwood Police Department members that notified the Bethalto Police Department because there was a vehicle relating to the residents at 308 Mill Street, and that helped initiate the investigation here. At this time, I'd like to introduce Crystal Uy with the Madison County State's Attorney's Office. She's in charge of the Violent Crime Division, and the Madison County State's Attorney's Office was instrumental in assisting us in this investigation. She's going to go ahead and go through some of the charges that were filed today in this case.
Thank you. The Madison County State's Attorney's Office issued charges this morning on both Brady Witcher as well as Brittany McMillan. Each of the two are charged with 9 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of armed robbery, 1 count of aggravated vehicular hijacking, and then as to Mr. Witcher, he has an additional count of being unlawful felon in possession of a firearm. The reason for the 9 first-degree murder charges are that the state has charged different theories. So as to Sherry Yates, both individuals are charged with first-degree murder in that they intentionally committed the acts with the intent to kill or to do great bodily harm to Sherry Yates. As to the second victim, Andrew Brooks, both individuals are charged with taking acts that substantially was likely to cause great bodily harm or death to the individuals. And both individuals are also charged with a theory called felony murder as to the armed robbery and the vehicular hijacking counts. I think these charges reflect the heinous nature of these acts. The 8 days, as Commander Caberna just stated, the 8 days that these individuals were between the time they left Birmingham and they got to Bethalto can only be described as a complete reign of terror. And I could not be prouder of the men and women that I stand up here with today, that they conducted themselves professionally and methodically, and it was truly a team effort, and that led to these charges here today. So I couldn't be prouder of Madison County law enforcement and the major case squad of Greater St. Louis and the work that they put on into this case along with the other agencies. These particular charges carry a mandatory sentence of natural life in prison, and it will be the state's attorney's position that we will seek natural life in prison on both Brady Witcher and Ms. McMillan pursuant to law and the maximum penalty that's available in the state of Illinois. I believe everybody has packets of the charges, but if anybody has any questions regarding the charges, I will take those now.
Yes, I do, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
You specified the 9 counts of murder. Can you talk about why so many for her? I know you mentioned there is some variations to that, but can you kind of explain it for the people who don't know what that means?
Why so many counts as to each
What's
individual?
the variation in particular to the woman, to Brady?
Yes, sir. So Brady Witcher is his 9 counts. They all allege that he personally discharged the firearm. Through the investigation, it is our belief that Mr. Witcher was the individual that did, in fact, pull the trigger, ending the life of Miss Yates, Mr. Brooks, and Mr. McMillan. Miss McMillan, which is spelled differently than the victim, I wanted to point that out, she is charged under a theory of accountability for those same 9 murders. So under the laws of the state of Illinois, she is equally culpable for the same counts of murder that he is. However, the investigation has shown that it was Mr. Witcher that pulled the trigger.
I got another.
Yes, sir.
Is there a connection between her and any of the 3 victims here?
It is believed through the course of the investigation that this was not a random act, that in fact the victims that lived at the Mill Street address did know both defendants through the course of the past couple years or so. As Detective Caberna, or Commander Caberna stated, Ms. McMillan is from the Bethalto area, and it is believed that she did know at least one of the victims when she lived here.
And I know it's still early, but is there a motive?
So as to the motive, counts 10 and 11 reflect the theory of motive. In this particular case, the armed robbery count as well as the vehicular hijacking, it does appear that the motive was to take property and or the vehicle from the victims in an attempt to continue to evade police in regard to the Alabama charges as well as the Tennessee charges.
Have any of those stolen vehicles been found?
Vehicles have been recovered. I don't want to comment too much on the facts in this particular case, but again, working with the other agencies, several items of evidence, including vehicles, have been recovered. Yes.
Do you provide more information about the vehicle that connected them to this case here in Bethalto that was found by Hazelwood officers?
Yes, sir. In Hazelwood, when the two individuals were located by the Hazelwood Police Department, they were in possession of Miss Yates, Sherry Yates's Ford Fusion, which then led them to contact the Bethalto Police Department and eventually led to the discovery of the deceased victims.
Can you talk about the environment in the hotel room at the day's end where you guys took down both of them? I was over in that room and it seems to be torn and was being reconstructed, cleaned. What was the environment when you found those two in that room?
I'll defer, yes.
I believe the room had recently, I believe they had a large amount of items located in it and was in not the best shape. I don't know the exact care for it, but it was definitely, as far as the amount of items and care that they had given that room was not very well. Not necessarily the hotel, the individuals utilizing. So, yes, it was not the hotel.
Were there any injuries like blood splatter or anything?
I would not be able to discuss evidentiary items or any motive, unfortunately, other than what's listed in the charging documents. Yeah. I would also like to open up this to Chief Dixon with the Bethalto Police Department and let him say a few words, and then we can take additional questions if you would like to, Chief.
I want to thank everybody for coming and attending today and covering this for our region and providing the information to the affiliates outside of our region who also have family members and individuals within those communities that have been affected by this tragedy. As with the sentiments of Mrs. Huey and Lieutenant Caberna, I want to commend the men and women that are members of the Major Case Squad and the officers within my police department who did a tremendous job in bringing this investigation to a conclusion so quickly. It's very far and few between that you get the call that I got and received in the conversation that I had in which evidence is provided and information is provided as to suspects and location. But even with the information we provided right from the onset, there's a tremendous amount of work that goes into making a case and putting a case together. The men and women around me here today, many of which were up for 40 straight hours, 24 straight hours working this case, and it's a commitment to them and a fortunate benefit for us living in the St. Louis region to have such an amazing and talented criminal investigative team such as the Major Case Squad. I commend them all. My condolences go out to the family. And as spoken by Lieutenant Caberna, this is, when taken into consideration of all the crimes that have occurred that have been mentioned, let alone those that we may not know about, in my 30 years of law enforcement experience, is probably the most tragic and despicable act of violence that I've ever seen.